lucky enough to have Paul with us. I'm going to ask him some questions. Paul, how did you even find out about the Atlanta Pop Festival and wind up going there in the first place?
Well, I probably heard about it from some of the people we were hanging out with. I knew some number of people in the quote hip community. We went to the Atlanta Pop Festival. We got in. I remember having a kind of a campsite near the main medical tent and whatnot. I went down with a young lady. We were just pals, and so we had a little place together. And there were a lot of people. Of course, you had to get a ticket to get in. So I remember that. Then I don't remember a lot. I tried to help out a little bit to the people in the medical tent and stuff. The problem was this thing was in Macon, Georgia, and it got up to about 107 degrees because we were, of course, inland. Macon's not near any water that would help. And they weren't used to that, and people were just kind of dropping, in the heat. So I had this ambulance. It wasn't an ambulance. It was this old station wagon, and the damn thing got a flat, and they didn't have a spare, and they're like, oh, well, we can't go pick up people that are having problems. I don't know what we're going to do. And I said, well, why don't I take the flat, since you don't have a spare, and get out of here and go get the tire changed, that old one or anything, and bring it back and put it on, and you can carry on. So I did that. And anyway, cops were locking down the place, but I said, hey, I've got the tire for the ambulance, so they let me go. Came back with 100 pounds of ice in bags and the tire, gave out ice to people because it was hot. They were having trouble with the heat. Got the wheel back, got the quote ambulance running again, and they would send me out to pick people up that maybe the heat had got to, and I'd pile them in the car, give them a little drink of ice water, and I had the AC in the car going. I was helping the ambulance. I had my own car there, company car. And so by the time I got halfway back to the medical tent where we were going to help this guy because of the heat, he was hydrated and cooled down, and he just, thanks, man, and hopped out. So I never made it back with anybody. I cured him on the way.
There you go. All right.
I remember that. Now, about the ladies, well, you can imagine in this heat, I hate to be nasty, but they have these porta potties. You can imagine in 100+ degree heat that these places became, shall we say, compartments in which you really didn't want to be. So I was prevailed upon by a gaggle of ladies who begged me if I would just bust through the lines and get them out of there and go to a real bathroom. I managed to do that. I knew a little back way out. And we went out in the first gas station. I pulled in, the doors flew open, and all these women rushed out of the car going, a bathroom! And they all headed for the gym. The gas station guy was like, what the hell is this? I'm sorry, but it's pretty bad up there, so it worked out. Anyway, that was a little mission of mercy.
So, what bands do you remember playing and moments, what's the most memorable moments you have of the whole show?
Oh, yeah, well, a couple things, I guess. One of them was just sort of interesting. It's funny, right? So, I'm back in the attendees there, right in front of where the sound and video people were. So we were in a good place because we were getting great acoustics. So we kind of knew. Well, we knew some people who knew some people, so we were, in a good place. Anyway, they were videoing, and they had these old, 3-foot long video cameras. They put it on their shoulder and it stuck out to here. Well, there's this chick that had dropped some acid, and after a while she decided to lie down for a minute, close her eyes. She opened her eyes and looked up, and she's lying down. And this guy had this ginormous video camera, and her head was down here. He had moved forward, and she looked up and she saw this thing with a proboscis sticking out to here, and she totally freaked out. Aliens! Oh, God! Everybody had to calm her down. Hey, it's cool. It's a dude with a camera, you know. She thought we'd been invaded, man. She was tripping her brains out. So I remember that.
So funny.
I also remember the guy I knew that, I shouldn't mention names maybe, that ran a certain coffee house that was hollering at the guy on stage to quit giving, like, sort of babble, which is what the guy was doing, and get on with the next piece of music, you know, the next bit. And he brought the guy to his knees. He really did. Everybody else went, yeah! The guy was overwhelmed.
Basically, shut up, we want some rock.
But the thing I remember most was Jimi Hendrix. And when he's just started doing Purple Haze, and you go into that rum-pa-pum-pum, and you have that offset on the bass, they had those amps turned up. My rib cage was vibrating to the It was insane. And I mean, it was just an honor to see Jimi Hendrix, you know? Like, lucky silly me was there, you know, and what a loss to the world when he passed away, and what a great artist he was, and what he gave us is immeasurable. So I was privileged to be there.
I know, you're so lucky. Would you say that was the highlight of the festival, was Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah, in my case, I was helping out a little, as I mentioned, so I didn't see every group that played there. But Jimi Hendrix knocked them dead, including myself. It was just awesome.
Hendrix's performance that really stood out to you?
Well, just his mastery of the guitar. I mean, my God, he was sending us. You know, some of us might have been in a modestly altered state, I don't know, but I will just say that he just sent us soaring. And, you know, what a master.
Oh, awesome.
And so, you know, it was, you know, that the thump of Purple Haze was sort of this, I don't know, basic animal thing, you know. But Hendrix was ethereal.
Absolutely.
No freaking way. I helped during the day a little bit, so I missed some of the people that played during the day, but, you know.
Caught the great bands at night, though.
Well, yeah. By then, you know, things were, they'd have announcements there like, do not take the yellow microdots. They may contain strychnine. I mean, people were paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was some bad drugs around. It was like, if you want to do drugs, it's okay. But if we run up on somebody, imagine people doing this, what they did, peddling bad stuff, like strychnine, you know, just bad stuff. And to these people who just figured a pill's a pill or something. So they were watching. And if they found out about anything, they would just put it out over all the speakers. And I give them kudos for that.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, that was really, you know, instead of going, well, you're on your own. No. You know, they would announce, don't, if you see these, don't do them. They're not cool.
Well, let me ask you this. I know you and I, when Jimi Hendrix put out that one and we watched the film of him playing there, and it had a documentary, we actually saw the ambulance and stuff in there, which was super cool.
Yeah, the old station wagon.
Ambulance. Ambulance driving around, which was freaking awesome. Almost everything we talked about I saw in the documentary. One of the things I saw in there was, and kind of like said, okay, go in there, you do whatever the hell you want, just don't bring it out here.
Yep.
And in the movie, you see guys who actually have pot plants growing and big signs, and they're selling marijuana and all sorts of stuff in there.
Yes. They created, I won't say a walled city, that's a little but they created an area, yes. And of course, there were two things. That number one, that isolated it, so I guess people came to some agreement to avoid controversy of, you know, what you do inside there stays inside there.
Yeah,
like what
that's
you do in what you do in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. It's the same thing, you know. So yeah, there is that. But also, you had to buy tickets, I mean, I don't know what the price was. I can't remember anything about that. And of course, a dollar then was different from now. So I don't know if they were relatively expensive, but they weren't free. So another advantage of this is you couldn't kind of come in there unless you came in through the appropriate show me your ticket entrance, right?
Sure.
So naturally, so cool. And that's totally fair. So I think there were two reasons for the barricade around. But about partway through the festival, the word had gotten out, and more and more. They had planned for, I don't know how many planned for, 50, 100,000, I don't know. People were coming from everywhere. And by the second day, they were all over the place. And they broke down the barricade, and they entered for nothing. And these guys were just like, well, shit. They couldn't stop them. It was like a tide washing over a sand dune. I mean, it was like, well, I'm coming and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. And this flood of people. I might be wrong. I think the estimate's probably close to 300,000 people were there. It was nearly as big as Woodstock in its own way. But yeah, but that's evolved. So that's as I said, you had the official attendance, tickets sold, and you had the day two people that crashed the gates. And you add
so
all
nobody
those,
really knows the count.
it was a very large number.
Gotcha.
It was estimated as a huge number, over 250,000.
Wow.
That's a big festival.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, there's a little bit of footage out there. I know the guy that filmed it restored all the footage, had it in, I think he passed away recently, but he had all the footage sitting in his barn, and the only person that bought the footage was Jimi Hendrix and put it out. He has both Allman Brothers sets. Allman Brothers opened and closed the show. He filmed that, Grand Funk, Johnny Winter, in his prime with Rick Derringer. You name it, he filmed it, he's got it, and now he's passed away. Who knows where that footage is. I think the Allman Brothers are insane that they haven't broke down the cash to buy the 2 full sets of the Allman Brothers. They
Wouldn't
have
argue.
both full sets with Dwayne Allman, and when they close the show, you have Johnny Winter's jam with them on a 45-minute set.
Where are you going to find
Jam.
that?
It's all on film, and it's rotting away somewhere.
Probably never happened again.
Yeah, and who knows if we'll ever even get to see that footage. I know some other stories you told me. I know you saw other bands, and we'll see if we can remember other.
Well, Allman Brothers used to play in Atlanta at Piedmont Park, and I lived in this rather arty apartment that somebody had before me, and the bedroom was painted in dark blue. It was rather hippie-ish, I suppose, but anyway, it was a lot of fun. So that's right, and it was right about a block from Piedmont Park in Atlanta, where everything happened. People had little meetings and all that. But they had a gazebo, and the Allman Brothers would come in, man, just play for nothing, man, in the gazebo, and we'd sit around and listen to them.
So it was pretty much every weekend for free.
Yeah, I don't remember how, but I know we saw them. I guess other people may have did something too, but I remember specifically. That was wonderful. You remember the silly little things. I remember at one point, and thank God it did, it started raining. So this gal that I brought down, and we weren't an item, I mean, we were just friends. We both stripped naked and put raincoats on and go out and walk around, and they're helping people out and stuff. Because because I was right near the medical tent, they kind of drafted me to help them do some stuff, and I said, sure, I'm happy to do it. Now, I made sure I saw my share of the music, but so I was kind of helping these guys out. I mean, they were kind of overwhelmed by how many people eventually came in there, and they kind of needed any help they could get. It was like, oh my God, we got this enormous group of people. Oh, we weren't planning that,
Absolutely, I hear that.
So but it was cool. When I went out and fixed the ambulance tire and got a used tire put on, pumped up, and brought back to put on, I bought all this ice. I bought 8 or 10 pound bags, a whole giant big cooler full of it. Over 100 pounds, I guess. So bringing that in. So as I went around, you could kind of drive around to like where people were camping. You know, there was a little dirt road kind of thing. So I was dropping off some ice for these people, and they were like, "What can we give you?" I mean, almost. I'm not quite sure where that would have, what the limit would have been, but anyway, there were certainly offers of various drugs.
But pretty much you could have got just about anything for ice in that heat.
Oh
right?
my God, 100 and something degrees, yeah. And I was just trying to help, you know, like get cool things down, hydrate, get a little water, chill it down, you know, just because some, you know, people are a little messed up, and we don't want anybody to have a problem, you know, a real big problem. So, but anyway, no one asked me to do that. I just did that on my own initiative. So I went around, but yeah, I was being offered, "Hey man, I got some really good dope. Thank you, man." You know. But we got the ambulance back, and again I went out also and helped, as I mentioned earlier, helped pick up people. But anyway, that's how that played.